Isn't he adorable? Just asleep. Peaceful. Adorable. Until he wakes up and starts sprinting around the house like a crackhead. Hey guys. I guess I want to start off this episode by first talking about a faux pas I did in the last video. I think I made a comment about the distinction between ADD and ADHD being dissolved in the DSM-6, in which for some reason I thought I saw somewhere there was the DSM-6, but it's really DSM-4 or what is it? Or hold on. Here's a comment from someone in a Reddit thread. It was actually the DSM-5 walked back the typing in the DSM-4. DSM-4 introduced... Why is my voice cracking? Let me drink some water. The DSM-4 introduced only the inattentive / hyperactive / combined types. DSM-5 softened the terminology to predominantly inattentive, hyperactive, combined presentation. Symptoms also went from either 6 in hyperactive or 6 in attentive, I don't know what that is, to an and or. Whatever. But yeah, I think I was reading some academic paper. It was either from techno-skepticism between possibility and refusal, that kind of where is it? Some academic paper. But either way, that was a little faux pas on my part. But the crux of that statement was just that for people who think that ADD, that there's still kind of a typology between or typological distinction between ADD and ADHD. That's not a thing anymore, and it's much more of like a modal kind of distinction, or But I think that was one of the main things I want to kind of bring back starting out. But also the fact that I never went into the story of being prescribed meds for myself, which was a very brief but very kind of quintessential, or quintessential kind of feature of individuals who even come close to getting some kind of meds, which is funny for me because even though I think I may have talked about individuals who come from marginalized communities that don't have that kind of discursive language to think of themselves as ADHD or neurodivergent. I actually, for a while during my childhood, because my stepfather was in the military, he was in the Army from the time, I was living in Boston as a kid for a little while at my actual father's brother or sister. It was like an uncle or aunt or something, their house, and then I got picked up. Yeah, I was 3 years old in Boston. So from 3 years old to, I guess, whenever they got, my mother and my stepfather went through my mother and stepfather went through 2 divorces or some weird thing. There was a time when I was in 4th grade. They went through some weird divorce thing, and we lived in Richmond County of Augusta in some I don't want to say project, some apartment complex or whatever down there, and then that was for a good while. Actually, even before that, we were living in a church, an abuse shelter, or a domestic abuse shelter before that, and some pastor's house where we slept on their couch. But that was, I forget how long that was. That was for a good minute, and then they got back together, and then The whole point is like, for a good while, from like, I guess around 3 to, I think when they did this, the actual divorce I was junior year, or maybe junior year, so around like 17 or something like that. I had the privilege of being able to go to clinics and hospitals off of his credentials of being in the military, going on base, like, Fort Gordon. I used to go there a lot. I used to go there, and this is actually ties in with this whole thing of ADHD or neurodivergency somehow. I used to go to the clinic because I used to have like really bad eczema all across my arms. It was just so terrible, which was like, it was terrible because it like wreaked havoc on, besides, I think in the last video I was talking about how being younger than my peers in school made me always anxious about like how I was behaving or being in relationship to everyone else. But like the eczema like even made it worse because I would always be like just irrationally just trying to restrict my movements, which I'm pretty sure no one probably remembered at all or noticed. Maybe they noticed back then, but like it probably dissipated. But like it was just so bad where like I made sure to wear long sleeves, always made sure to like douse my arms in lotion. The reason why this ties in is because I was reading like these articles about like the connection with ADHD and eczema, and I think one thing that'll help is just kind of playing a video. I was watching some videos on this, and I think they disappeared because my like laptop just randomly bugged the hell out earlier. But let's see if I can find it. And that was pretty weird, but like I don't know how I got on this tangent, but yeah, like I did enjoy the benefits of going to the hospital, and specifically for that, but because of like none of my parents realizing that there was something going on up here, especially when, like I was saying in the last video, like middle school and high school, when the dysfunctions of what was going on in the family definitely were affecting school to a point where like, yeah, even though I was a decent student, a good student or whatever, a smart kid, like, my brain wasn't there, or there was just a big disconnect. Let's see, ADHD and eczema. I almost forgot to spell that. Let's see. Play some shorts the shorts went away that I was, okay, here's a good one right here. Pause this music.
Kids with eczema have higher rates of ADHD and autism spectrum disorder. We know this, we don't completely understand it, although...
Oh yeah, the reason why, I don't know how I got into this, but I was reading this medical, it's like academic paper that's in the National Library of Medicine. Yeah, why did I like find this? I don't know, but there's this like paper called Associations Between Eczema and Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder Symptoms in Children. Yeah, I think I just like randomly, the thought just burst in my brain for some reason. I just like searched it, and then I like started reading this medical paper. But yeah, it was going in about like how do you pronounce it? Cytokines in the blood. Wait, here's a good sentence. I'll just read some of it and then go back to that video. Evidence from a number of studies suggests the link between eczema and ADHD. In a United States study including 354,416 children from 19 population-based surveys, eczema was associated with a 50% increased risk of developing ADHD compared to children without eczema. I'll go down. Pro-inflammatory cytokines and the gut microbiome have been proposed to be involved in the development of both allergic and neurodevelopmental disorders. Eczema has been linked to increased production of Th2, Th17, and 22 inflammatory cytokines. These pro-inflammatory cytokines can traverse the blood-brain barrier to activate the prefrontal cortex and increase susceptibility to cognitive disturbances. Inflammation may also be directly involved in the development of ADHD symptoms through, I don't know how to pronounce this, microglial activation and tumor necrosis factor A production, leading to altered central nervous system excitability. A lot of big words. A lot of big words. A lot of fancy medical words. But yeah, let me go back to that video. This is ostensibly a professional in the biz who's talking about this.
There have been studies, one study in particular, looking at this particular cytokine called IL-4, which is turned up in...
Oh yeah, and once I get smart to how to use YouTube and do this stuff, then I'll be able to like put the video in. Right now I'm just enjoying the lazy benefit of ignorance, so I'm just gonna, you can only hear the video or the short or whatever.
In eczema, and they looked at the effect of excess IL-4 on the developing brain using mouse models, but they found things like delayed cognition, decreased myelination in the atmosphere of excess IL-4. And so that is an area of hot research because we definitely see this association and we're just beginning to touch the surface and understanding it. We also know that patients with autism spectrum disorder tend to have tactile sensitivities where they do not like the feeling of anything on their skin. Kids with eczema have high...
There's another video.
Hey, can we destigmatize?
Alright. Yeah, but so there's like some relationship between eczema and ADHD, or just, I guess, maybe a relationship with neurodevelopment disorders. Yeah, but yeah, how did I get on this tangent? But I also wanted to go into talking about my actual brief story with like meds. I was only prescribed. I never got a chance to get prescribed medicine or even allowed to even think about a neurodivergency as a kid or a teenager. Which is funny because like I remember being a kid, I was kind of always envious of kids who like it. In hindsight, it looks like they were getting like in elementary school. I remember I was going to, I think it was South Columbia Elementary School in Martinez of Augusta. Kids would go off and get their meds, and it was usually like the hyperactive kids get their I guess the Ritalin or Adderall or whatever they were getting at the time. Fast forward to later on when I'm getting out of the military or about to get out of the military, and I'm thinking about going to school. Like I said in the last video, my buddy got Adderall. I went in and talked with the with one of the Army doctors, and he had me fill out this whole thing, and then we talked about things, and then he started going in the direction of me using Strattera instead of like Adderall or I always forget the other big one, but which Strattera is non-amphetamine med that like, and it's supposed to be doing the same thing, but instead of like where Adderall or Ritalin is supposed to jack up your brain and calm it down, which sounds really weird. But I guess it's normal for kind of calming down ADHD brains or neurodivergent brains or whatever. I was using Strattera. I don't know. It's funny because like comparing between that and Adderall, or what the fuck is the other one? How do I keep forgetting the other? Like, what is the other top ADHD med? What is it? Why am I forgetting it? No. considered. Why isn't that coming up? Vyvanse. Yeah, that's it. Well, I don't know why the fuck. I used to get Vyvanse from some random dealer kid at Georgia State, and that shit was hilarious because I'd just be in the fifth floor of the library, reading or whatever, and then a homie got me his plug, and I'd hit him up, and he would just appear out of the fucking shadows between the books and be like, here, and then I'd cash app him, and he would just kind of vanish, and then I would take my Vyvanse. Strattera compared to Adderall and Vyvanse, obviously with an amphetamine based med, like you can feel that change in your brain, which, I think I was saying in the last video that like it takes a minute before. There's always a problem within like certain worlds or environments or whatever where like it takes a minute to kind of like comprehend what's going on or like the patterns that are emerging, and so like unfortunately like you seem madly dumb to people even though your brain is like your brain's like trying to process so many things at the same time that like you're supposed to be processing this one set of things, so it seems like you're slow. I mean, people all the time think I'm like retarded or call me low IQ or whatever, but it's like, while you're talking, I'm like literally trying to like process like things that I read in like the Critique of Pure Reason, or worrying about like how I'm gonna like make some money or have enough money. There's like all these different things that are not, like I'm not settled, and I guess like for the amphetamine based kind of drugs that like ramping up your brain calms you down, which is funny because like I think every once in a while I'll find something on social media where like people are just kind of alarmed by the fact that ADHD individuals can be so calm during like a very cataclysmic moment, and it's just like, and I just had this random memory like that always pops in my brain when I was bartending and pretty much managing this one restaurant. Like the first place I ever bartended at, I remember like that we had gone through like several general manager changes, and like I was one of the only OGs from like when we opened the restaurant, because I was one of the staff that came in and opened up. I think I was originally a server. Then one of my buddies who was supposed to be just a bartender got pushed to a manager. He was like the acting GM pretty much. And then he brought me over to the bar. And then I think he ended up leaving and I was pretty much managing, or there were many times I would kind of manage when he wasn't there because he was like working all the time. And I remember like one of like the guys in the one of the owner's homies or whatever, he was like this like former Navy guy and or like Coast Guard guy, which is but like like something was crazy going on. It was that place was just like not well put together, even though aesthetically it was like a cool sexy place. Atlanta, it was like a pan Asian fusion kind of concept. And I was going to school, doing going to school, bartending there, but then like pretty much managing like without any kind of managerial kind of status. I think they gave me like an extra $1 or something for hourly. I think I was originally getting paid $5 an hour, and they were like, yeah, we'll give you $6 an hour or some shit like that. Which was dumb because like there was times where like they would make me come in on my days off and like close up the bar and the restaurant. But I remember like something crazy was going on. Like I think we were getting like a lot of like Uber Eats, DoorDash, whatever orders, and then like the restaurant was kind of busy, and I was bartending, and like that Coast Guard guy or whatever I forget what he was. He wasn't like the COO. He was like some role or whatever, but he came and visited, and he was like, "Why aren't you like stressed out or anxious?" Because I was just like completely calm, and it was just like, for me, I think I just kind of used like at that time I wasn't. I think I humored, by that time I was humoring the idea that, yeah, I'm ADHD, whatever. But like, I didn't think about like, okay, I can handle this cause like my brain or whatever, my, neural type, but much more cause I was like, I think I was just like, yeah, I was in the military, I've done crazy shit. Yeah, whatever. And he was like, well, I was in the military too, but in my brain I was like, yeah, the Coast Guard. Which, you guys are doing your thing. If anyone from the Coast Guard or former Coast Guard, this is just ignorance coming from me. But, for me, it was just like, yeah, I've done crazy things in the military. Which, if you really unpack, the military as a gang, like, it recruits, and this reminds me of that line in, like, that James Bond movie. What was it? Snoof, or one of those movies with the guy from Country for Old. What is that movie? No Country for Old Men. Yeah, No Country for Old Men. That guy. What's that guy's name? Cast. Oh yeah, Javier Bardem. His character Anton Chigurh. With him in it. But oh yeah, the James. I should have been asking. I should have been searching the James Bond movie. What was that James Bond movie? Skyfall. Yeah. I think it's in that one. I remember being in the theaters for that. But like, where they talk about how they recruit like orphans, because they're the best kind of recruits for. I think either being an MI6 or just being in 00 status or whatever. Well, like, it's the same for the military, where like, they heavily recruit and they heavily like receive ADHD as individuals who like either don't know what they're doing or in life and want to find some kind of structure or organization, or just individuals who like want some crazy shit. Like they're like down for some crazy ass shit. Like dudes from the hood, rednecks and hillbillies, dudes who like to do everything and find the military as like a great kind of organization to use that kind of diverse set of skills or fascinations or passions or whatever. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I always, when I think back to that comment about like, why are you so calm during this like hectic pop or whatever we got going on at that restaurant, which was called Co, which like I think shut down like a little bit after I quit. Not a little bit. I think it was like, at least it was like a year or whatever, maybe less. But yeah, I put it in terms of I expressed and thought about why. I'm just gonna put some music back on. Put some music back on. I thought of my calmness in terms of like, yeah, I've not only, yeah, have gone through all the things that people go through in the military, which, from the get-go, like, even though vets like myself and everyone else think of like boot camp as like, easy peasy, it is a very stressful thing compared to like normal life. So even like the first like, basic process of being in the military is like, you're going through like, crazy experience, even though that's like, the first step into the military, which like, which is funny for people who like, who go, yeah, I couldn't be in the military because I couldn't have somebody yelling at my face. And it's like, well, that's just like, that's the bare minimum. Like literally going through boot camp is the bare minimum. Like of like, and I say this because like it's so frustrating, the fact that, despite the fact that there are a lot of dipshits in the military, or who come out of the military like myself, the value of having been in the military even before your actual job, such as like signals intelligence for myself, a linguistic background, learning a language, using a language, doing all the very crazy stuff that people don't think a person like myself would be doing. How undervalued it is for like just like any job. It's kind of crazy. Like I guess the value used to be there, but it was much more ideological instead of kind of like and even as opposed to kind of a true understanding of like, okay, you can take on this stress and also go do other things. But yeah, back to that restaurant anecdote. I never thought in terms of like, the reason why I can be calm in this like crazy restaurant situation is because my brain is like finally activated. It's finally like going like, let's fucking go, and it's like the most beautiful thing to see like other restaurant individuals who are like, restaurant industry, the service industry is definitely like the military, where like, and that's something I like really thought about. Actually, in general, I've thought about like kind of how certain neurotypes kind of flock to certain jobs or certain environments, and stay there. Like the restaurant industry, just like the military, is definitely, attracting individuals because of like the kind of structure, that financial structure of like, it's the old formatted structure really, where like you could make your tips and then go home and away with your money. It's a very precarious situation of like, you never know what's going to happen during that day, but at least you're going to get money. You can go fix your crises, or like you can save it, but or you can spend it all at the bar with your buddies right after, which I've done plenty of. But now it's funny because like more and more restaurants are like taking advantage of the whole like weekly or bi-weekly kind of check structure, which is, it's kind of annoying. It's kind of good in a way where it kind of paces you down, paces your spending habits, which is good. But it's like, it beats the purpose of like what originally is like the the kind of like financial model that attracted people in the beginning. Because I'm like, if I'm like, all right, I need to get this amount of money in the next couple days, like it kind of beats the purpose of like, I gotta wait for a check to get that money. Like, plus I gotta get taxed and I gotta get involved, whatever. But I did it again. I didn't stick on brand or stick on the point with the story. But yeah, Strattera. So yeah, I got Strattera like the year before I was getting out of the military. I guess I think I'd taken Adderall before from my my girlfriend at the time, who I think I referenced her vaguely in the last one. But like knowing that kind of contrast, it kind of did kind of go like, I don't like this one. I want that other stuff. I want that other stuff. I want that purple drain. I want that other stuff. Like, but like I guess it did help. I wasted. I think, did I use part of my GI Bill for this? I was taking like classes with the Art Institute of whatever, like online. I was taking like an art history class and like a Photoshop class, because like the plan at that time was to kind of, I'd been like obsessed with the idea of starting a business, and one of the business ideas, having like been so passionate about photography for a good while, since I got like this film SLR that my family used to have. My family had this film SLR, and I used to take photos like in high school, or like right before I graduated, or after, because some of my buddies started getting into photography, and I always liked composition and taking photos. But yeah, like I took these classes online, and like which was, I don't think I used my GI Bill. I think I was like going to, and then like I don't know, because I remember they kept bugging me. They kept calling me saying like, you owe money. And I was like, buddy, I don't owe you money. The military owes you money. Like, don't stop calling me, buddy. But yeah, like using it, I noticed the effect, but I didn't really like it because I was wanting, there's like a distinct feel, even though like it's weird with Adderall for neurodivergencies such as ADHD or whatever kind of gradation of it, I guess, or however it's described in whatever current DSM. It's like, I know with Adderall, like I notice it, like it's kind of like a, but like your brain is kind of like chills out. It's like the weirdest feeling. It's like you can feel the velocity change or whatever, but like at the same time, your brain is like, especially with I guess like the extended ones or whatever, or if like a lot of times whenever I've acquired some meds, I'll usually do like half of a pill, and like yeah, it's just like, it's not like it's the same thing for other substances. It's not like I'm like geeked up, wired up. It's like, man, I can go from point A to point B without like getting distracted and like going back and forth like with my thoughts or whatever, or like just having this like but like it's so funny. Whenever I've taken like Adderall, I'm like, it's, your brain becomes clear and like kind of in focus, and I'm just chill. And whenever I take it, I'm like, I think of that like meme, meme with Goofy, or I think it's Goofy as like a teenager going to like that girl's house, and it's like, bitch, you live like this? Like, I'm like, my brain is like, or I start thinking like, I can't believe normal people just think like this, like not like distracted constantly or like easily jumping on to the next thing. But yeah, with Strattera, you didn't have that like little velocity change. I feel like it was just kind of like, I don't know. It was funny. But like, it was funny whenever I would have a drink though. Like, yeah, whenever I had a drink, like I would become like, it wasn't just like, okay, my brain's focused, or whatever, but it was like I was like Mega Man as far as attention goes. I remember I remember cleaning up my ex-girlfriend's like house, like apartment, like just being like, I need to get every fucking nook and cranny of this place. I think I just drank some rum or something like that for some reason. I think it was when I was in the military and I was down there without a pass, as I usually did. But yeah, that's all I wanted to start off with, was just talking about that. That was like, yeah, that was the only kind of institutionally kind of acknowledged experience really with meds. And when I got out of the military, it's just like I never, like getting out of the military, I never continued that thought process of like, yeah, I need meds. It was just kind of like, okay, well, that was cool. Getting medication and like, still going through this. Well, once you're like crazy ADHD and you get out of the military, which has heavy structure of how you're supposed to live, like, everything's mapped out, what you're going to be doing for like the next like months or whatever. Like, I just got to wake up, go to PT, I got to go to work, I got to go, wake up, PT, work out, go to work, maybe do some training, or like plan to go off to some training for some months or a month or whatever amount of time, maybe plan to deploy, go on deployment, everything's so structured that like, despite the fact the military is frustrating and can be very tough, or very strenuous, or life endangering, It's kind of a breeze as far as like living your life, because like everything's not scattered, like, you know, everything's kind of in one place. Your job is connected with your life structure and like what you should be doing. You know, there's things that kind of live outside of that, like your hobbies and but as far as like getting out when you are ADHD, which I'm pretty sure is like why like homelessness is like a big, I mean like PTSD is a big like there's a big connection or correlation between like homelessness and like all that stuff with PTSD, but like definitely it's because individuals who had all this structure and were traumatized. They come out and it's like, you know, you have no value anymore. Like I was just saying, the value of yourself is like, you know, and I'm not even talking about the value of like being a member of the uniformed services. I'm not even looking through that ideological lens. The value of, you know, like I was a non-commissioned officer, like an E5 sergeant, good old Buck Sarge. But that gets highly devalued to the point where you're like, can I get this bussing job? Can I get you? It's like you're fucking like, unless of course you do it. You know, if you shake the right hands, you talk with the right people, you go to your job fairs. But if you're a dummy like me, like you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna start a freelance photography studio, and I'm gonna do this, and then you realize like, you know, this kind of short-wired thinking that like works well in the military doesn't work well out in the real world, where like, you know, you have to make connections, you have to kind of solidify these like explicit credentials that are standalone. Like, you know, like I used to say, I think I joked with a buddy that like, you know, or a buddy used to joke with me back in the military, like, no one gives a fuck about your Ranger tab. Like, no one knows what a Ranger tab is. You know, maybe like the gung-ho dudes are, like maybe they'll like, but like, which I guess if you put your Ranger tab on your resume, maybe that'll look cool. But like, you know, being, whatever, like, it's just, it's a crazy experience for an individual who's neurodivergent and they're coming out of the military, which is heavily structured, and they like the language of the language games are very solidified and obvious to someone. If you've been to a school, if you've done these things, if you have this rank, that world of worlds that is called the military, or slash, you know, specifically that specific branch, such as the Army. It's all very explicit. Actually, your whole life is explicit. Like literally, you know, that's the beauty of dwelling within a communist kind of structure such as the military. Everything's explicit. Like how you get paid, how much time you need to wait, what credits you need to like be able to get this rank, what schools you need to do. Like everything is like explicit. So for an ADHD individual, it's like, yeah, it's a breeze as far as like I know how to progress. There may be some pains. Although, like, you know, for me, like, I was in signals intelligence, like, already at the jump, getting out of school, getting out of language school, crypto school, you know, Iraqi dialect school, and then, like, even SOCO, which is my first special operations and, like, actual true, like, you know, crazy cool SIGINT school. You got, like, you're gonna make your ranks, you know, it's like it's a breeze for us. Like other branches, I know. I remember when I got my E5. I was talking with some other guy that was in Big Army. He was at 101st Airborne, and he was talking. We were talking about our paths to getting our sergeant rank, and he was like, "You must have been on some fast track shit." And I was like, "I don't know, just doing my thing." But yeah, compared to being outside of the military, where everything is scattered. You know, I think I mentioned it before, but like for the past years, I have very lazily, though at times very passionately, been working on this kind of reconceptualization of our notion of stupidity, which coming out of the military is a huge case study. And that's pretty much, I don't make explicit in that my story that I need to reformat as a novel, Bent Over Stupid, but like that's essentially, I should have made it more explicit, and I guess when I write it or rewrite it as a novel, I'll make explicit that like the military, how, because the main character in that story is talking about this kind of lostness of like jumping in and out of jobs, being fired, whatever, finding new jobs, things, aspects of the world of the service industry becoming meaningful and coherent, all the symbols, all the lingo, which what they weren't, they meant nothing, all these aspects of that world meant nothing before joining the restaurant, as opposed to being a guest, it's that crazy distinction. But really just like the whole kind of experience of like, really just like when you get out of the military, everything's kind of like, if you've had, and I guess this is much more for individuals who were young, very young before the military, and then getting out and I hate cat hair in my eye. Getting out and, maybe you had a lot of experience. Like I had a lot of weird experiences as a teenager, like, I think I kind of referenced this too in the last video, or maybe I didn't, but like my mother was an evangelist and a pastor, so like, I used to travel with her and like, I helped, I was her video camera guy, I was essentially her accountant, I was like, also, I forgot about this, I was pretty much like doing, I was drafting up kind of marketing materials for her, all because like I knew how to use the computer, which she didn't know. Like I used to be so angry about this. Like just because I've taken classes as a high school student on how to use Excel, Microsoft Word, like I know how to do stuff. I know how to code in HTML. Use HTML and then later JavaScript. Like just because I know how to do these things, don't use my free labor or use me in a free labor kind of role just because I'm your kid, but whatever. I had very many different experiences, but not the experience of like living on your own, and doing all the humdrum kind of things that you need to do to survive as an individual, as an adult, as a person pursuing a career, that idea alone. It's funny when people talk about careers. The notion of career is funny because it kind of reminds me of like, I guess it may be related to, in my mind, as like the philosophical kind of conception of substance, that something is a substance, that it's the only reason that popped in my brain is I'm rereading Heidegger's Being and Time, and he's kind of going through Descartes' ontology and talking about the status of something being a substance, which that's technically in the canon of Western philosophy, like something being a substance means it relies on nothing else. It's a composite thing. It can undergo different changes, but it's still itself. It can change sizes. It can be divided up. It can the idea of a career is a funny thing because it's like the notion that someone has like one trajectory of a career as opposed to being like, I like writing, I like this, like I'm going to pursue things, of course within the constraint of like financial, demands such as bills in your mortgage or whatever, your car note, but like having that thing of being like, yes, I am a doctor, I am a this, like, I used to fancy that as a teenager because my mother used to always say like, you're gonna be a doctor like your father, as a kid, from the time I was like younger till graduate, forever I would be like, just nod my head and be like, yeah, I'm gonna be a doctor, even though like there was no intentional kind of direction towards, personally for me being a doctor. I think, by the first time I even had the notion of having a career really kind of meshed with me, I think it was until like, I took computer programming classes and I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a programmer. I'm going to be a game programmer or whatever. Like that was the first time. Well, it was that and skateboarding. There was a good stretch where like, I was addicted to the notion of becoming a skateboarder. Like I was like, I think it was sophomore year. So yeah, I guess like maybe around sophomore year when I got heavily into skateboarding and really immersed in that culture, or maybe it was even freshman year. I don't know, but like, I was like, heavily focused on the idea, despite the fact that like my stepfather, I had this incident when my mother had to go preach or go to this church down in Miami where, I guess she was affiliated with in some way, and like I brought my skateboard down. I think it was my first complete deck that I had that was like not a Walmart board. Like I saved money for this, and like I brought it down with me during that trip. It was a whole big trip. I think we had the church by then. We were in like some hotel, but we went down to Miami, and I like fucked up my I think it was this wrist because I tried to stupidly grind this rail, which I shouldn't have even attempted this because I was not even good at grinding, and like it was just like a very ADHD kind of like, yeah, let me try it, let me try it, and like I tried to like, I think it was like a 12-step or something like that. I tried to like at least I think I just wanted to see if I could get up there, but for some reason I slammed my wrist down onto it to stop myself, and then my wrist was kind of broken or swollen, which I never went to the doctor for that. I don't think so, or maybe, I don't know. But my stepfather like threw my skateboard away immediately, and from then on, like he would, it was like a cat and mouse game of like, I'd buy a new board, hide it, practice while they were gone until like eventually, I think when they split up, I was good. But like for that longest time, I was like, I'm gonna be a skateboarder. And I think that was the first time of like the idea of having a career, even like was coherent to me. But then like when I really started falling in love with programming, that's when I was like really like, okay, this is something my mom can get behind. Like I don't have to like give some dumb arguments or like, I don't even think I gave arguments of like wanting to be a skateboarder. I think I was just like, I'm gonna do it. I'll be homeless after I leave my mom, after I graduate high school. I don't care. Like I think I used to say like, I remember when I was doing community service one time. Yeah, after getting arrested. Yeah, I remember doing community service around sophomore year after getting arrested and everything. I remember like we were at like some like fire department, like cleaning that place up, and one of the firefighters asked us like what we wanted to do, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna be a skateboarder. And they're like, yeah, what? Down in Augusta, they're like, what the fuck? But like for me, it was like, yeah, I can get a car. I'm gonna sleep in my car. I'm gonna skate wherever. I'm gonna travel, which is still, still cool idea of a career. But yeah, going from the kind of the fake intention of becoming a doctor, like my estranged father, to like the kind of burning desire to become a skateboarder, to the more kind of coherent and pragmatic intention of becoming becoming a programmer or something in the CS field or whatever, to like just to like dropping that and just going in the military, which like actually when I was in the military I was like humoring this could be a career path. Like for a good minute I was like, I want to stick throughout this and become the NCO who is not a fucking, not an asshole, not like, because there's so many like toxic individuals in the military. Everyone knows this. Like whatever uniformed services, like police or military, I always like had in my head like I'm gonna stick it out. Not only am I going to go to special forces, I'm gonna like stick it out and become. I think even before I had the idea, but like definitely even while in the military or special forces, because there's still dickbags there. That like, despite the fact that it was like, why are you acting like big army? Isn't this supposed to be like the cool guy like area? Even though the lesson to learn for me really was like, I should have been more kind of, I used to try to be so cool guy when I was first in, as like a young buck. And yeah, I didn't learn how to like tame myself and like, you know, once you get there, you're like, oh, I'm special, I'm cool, like, you know, but it's like everyone's cool, so like you're not shit, you know, like get your, do as many cool things, and then you'll be like cool and get your rank or whatever. But like, you know, at the jump, I was like, I'm a cool guy, you know, I'm a cool guy. But which that'll get you in trouble, especially with like the typeset fifth group, which everyone in special forces is like, yeah, fifth group is like the big army of special operations, unfortunately. But whatever. Man, I completely, in typical fashion, I wrote like, what did I write? I was gonna say like my journal. I've been journaling again, which is funny because like well, first let me stop. I had written this is what I wrote that I was supposed to be like talking about in this. I was gonna write about psychological discourse of ADHD, neurodivergency, and personality disorders, the epistemic mistrust, which hinders engagement with such discursive languages, you know, especially within marginalized communities that don't trust, you know, sophisticated forms of science or psychology or psychiatry because of, you know, past infractions and conspiracies and just the weird shit that happens when governments interact with scientific studies or whatever, and the stupidity which allows for discursive languages to be and become salient forms of discourse or not become salient, you know. And again, stupidity for me is kind of this epistemic nothingness. It's like it's an epistemic or epistemological kind of corollary of what, you know, continental philosophers used to call nothingness, you know, or have called nothingness, which is a kind of sometimes very incoherent notion to me. But like when I think of stupidity as like this kind of, you know, imagine that you don't have all the lenses in which you're able to kind of understand what am I doing here. Everything is just things. Everything's phenomenon. Things aren't things until you have the kind of cognitive lenses of going like, okay, I already know where I am. I know I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I know that's. I know I'm in Atlanta. I know that's in Georgia. I know that's, you know, directionally in some kind of place compared to other places. I know that it's Monday because I abide with the structure of time. That's meaningful in some way because I can. It's meaningful for me as an animal because I can pace myself in virtue of the circadian rhythm. I can, but without all these things, like you just there's just shit all around you. Like that's the nothingness that you kind of dwell in. It's kind of epistemic or epistemological kind of nothingness that you dwelling if you were like just born right now, or like, you know, if your memories, all the aspects of cognition that help you exist and operate in life were just kind of erased, really. If you had, I guess, kind of a complete cognitive amnesia, really, which, you know, is crazy because like I used to have this, you know, not to bring in booze in a lot, but like I think this was like a function of boozing where like I'd broken up with a girlfriend, long-term girlfriend, 7 years, and moved to Athens, and like I was living with two buddies of mine from Augusta, and then like also working at a package store and bartending, and like, you know, I just had access to a lot of booze and shit, or I'd buy a lot of booze, and I was kind of indulging in like, you know, I'm going to be a party boy in a sense, even though I was like in my mid-30s, and I felt weird about being in Athens because like there's all these college kids, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, this is weird. But, you know, I was with the bros down there, and like, even though we didn't really bro it up that much because one of the dudes kept going back to Augusta, even though I was like, hey, why don't you stick here so we can do creative things? The other dude is very like antisocial and just worked all the time because he moved there to open up a restaurant as a kitchen manager, and so like, you know, But I would, be at least for the first couple of weeks or months or whatever, I was drinking a lot, and there was days where I'd wake up and it was like straight up, I don't know, dementia or whatever, where like it was the scariest feeling in the world, where I was like, I would literally wake up, the sun was shining, and I'd be like, I don't know. It was like a very dramatic version of that part in Kerouac's On the Road, where he's like, I woke up in the hotel and I didn't know where I was, and it was a scary feeling. But then I guess he, during the story, or during that same kind of passage, he's like, he places himself as like, I'm in this poetic kind of turn of phrase, like I was in between the east of my past and the west of my future, which is eloquent and beautiful. But like, I guess he does describe at the beginning of that passage, like he didn't know what was going on except for the sounds and everything, and that's exactly like how I felt. And it was the scariest feeling of being like, I'm like reaching for like where am I? Like, like it's not even where, it's like and I imagine that of course people can relate to this maybe in some way, but I've had this, and it makes me joke about like early onset dementia, but like there's definitely been times where I've woken up, at least definitely there, and I think it was definitely a function of like my boozage, where like I was just like, I really was basking in this epistemic nothingness of like, I don't know what day it is. Like literally, it was like, I don't know what day it is. I don't know what time it is. I wasn't even in a state of knowing. It was like not even like, I just don't know. I just like, you're just seeing things and nothing was coming to me. Like the need to know what time it was, the need to know what day it was, the need to know like what I should be doing. Like I was just like, and it was kind of a horrifying, which was funny because like it must be like some kind of subconscious or whatever, which is funny because it's only recently that over the past couple of years, I've been using the term subconscious because I used to have this affinity with Jean-Paul Sartre's kind of argument against the kind of Freudian description of subconscious. But yeah, it was just, there must be like some kind of like subconscious kind of want of knowing, but like my whatever kind of I know the brain works has modal operations, or how would you describe it? I forget how it's described, where it's there's different operations working together, so like it's very difficult to kind of map out what is the mind, or how are certain mental operations constituted. But whatever part of the brain that like instinctively retrieves, like, okay, yeah, it's Tuesday, it's generally around this time, or like you're supposed to be doing this, or I guess in virtue of the day and whatever, and like who am I, like all that kind of. It took a minute. It was funny. It would take like, I don't know how long that would last. It would take like a couple minutes, which is like, or like, I think like a full minute or 2 minutes, which is like forever when you're like drowning in that kind of, that nothingness. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, these three things. So yeah, how much time have I been on here? I was gonna keep this brief, but yeah, those three things. Wait, there was something I was gonna say. I can't remember it. I think it was something I did wrong in the last video. DSM. Man, I should have wrote it down. See, this is why I need to write things down. Well, I try to remember that and maybe lead up to the talking about those 3 points. I just want to reiterate, or if I did in the last video, or just kind of bring up, like, I have the title for this series is on the destruction of ADHD as a call to. Oh yeah, I messed up on I messed up. I was referencing Heidegger's intro to phenomenology. What I meant was Heidegger's basic problems of phenomenology, which I put it down for a minute. I guess the last page I was on is page 62, just talking about Kant's thesis and a need of fundamental formulation. But like this, and I'm pretty sure he uses the term for destruction, which is essentially like deconstruction. But I guess that's kind of maybe an etymological kind of. I wonder if he has that in the contents, where I can kind of give an example of its usage. But yeah, essentially, I think first of all, it's just a cool way of saying destruction. I mean, destruction wouldn't make any sense. Like, I guess you could say destruction, but I guess deconstruction and destruction, like our normal kind of use of destruction and deconstruction is kind of the same thing. Except like if you don't know what deconstruction is or destruction in that kind of sense, essentially kind of unpacking, at least as far as. Yeah, I might be butchering it, and this is a disclaimer for everything that like is kind of technical or whatever. Like, it's not a way to kind of be like, ooh, here's fancy words or whatever, but it's a way to kind of think through a certain kind of. It's a, like I said, I think I brought up Wittgenstein and the thesis of words as techniques for doing certain things within a language game. This is a way to kind of think through that conception of like, deconstruction, destruction. And its sense in the title is a way of saying, okay, ADHD is still kind of controversial, still misunderstood, misconstrued in certain ways. So why not have a series which is targeting that, but really, and trying to kind of, either talking about it in ways that like is another kind of channel for talking about something that I think is definitely important. I think just in general, this is a hub for just talking about neurodivergency and just in general, anything related to that. And the reason why I think it's like, whether like neurodivergency or ADHD is kind of important or is important to talk about is because not only just it's a personal thing, but because it's always been funny to me when people go like, doesn't everyone have ADHD, or just kind of dismisses it and is very deflationist about the existence of ADHD. I think it's a very dumb kind of way of handling it. Any kind of phenomena that presents itself or arises or definitely has tenure in our discourses should be looked at, even if you intuitively and instinctively think it doesn't exist, it's not real. Like, it reminds me of like astrology. Astrology for a lot of people will go like it's fake, and I'm not. Just like when I stopped being a Christian, I was very like antagonistic towards anyone who spoke about Christianity as being a very coherent resource and method for living your life or belief or whatever. I definitely have eased down getting older, and I have a very much more pragmatic or more pluralist kind of take on its value as Christianity or any kind of religion as a value, but within reason. And I look at I have the same thing with astrology, but like more so in that like I think for me I don't subscribe into like the salience of descriptions by whatever kind of astrological kind of resources, but I do think there's something valuable there. I think there's something interesting there. I think there's in a much more I don't know the value of it, but I've always been like, yeah, there's definitely a way to kind of speak in a more coherent fashion about the phenomenon that people see, which is like, behavior that has some kind of relationship between, birth months or whatever. Birth months, times when, whatever planets are out or whatever. I think there are some kind of commonalities that can be more rigorously discussed. So like, let's say people in December, like I was born in December, maybe there's some commonalities between individuals who were born in that month, especially within certain cultures. So like, being an American, being part of the West, Christmas and New Year's and our birthday are around the same time. So that maybe there's some kind of a way where it affects behavior in a way that's, comparable to others, or like where you can have a robust description of these characteristics. But like, having this kind of metaphysical and ontological description as like there is a direct, causal relationship with positions of stars or planets, I'm still kind of very agnostic on that. But I'm not. I'm agnostic on the whole thing, or maybe not. I think there's something interesting there, but like, I think in the common kind of ways people talk about signs and all these things, I think it's epistemologically kind of maybe infelicitous, it's epistemologically kind of, I don't know what's a good word that's not harsh. See the technique, I'm not just trying to be PC or whatever, but like trying to go like, it's maybe myopic in a way, or like it's kind of like there's better ways that are more conducive to kind of not only describing the phenomenon of why certain behaviors are certain ways, but like also like using that as an actual sociological resource for navigating your life. Like if there is some kind of causal story between times of the year that someone's born and these kind of these kind of psychological or behavioral traits, there's probably a better way that to first of all describe those things, and also use that knowledge to kind of to be, instead of going like, oh, you're a Sagittarius, I can't date you. No, I can't date you. Y'all niggas are weird. Nah, like, I don't know. But, or just like having these very like blanketed statements, like just like with ADHD, that it's, or any kind of phenomenon, it's nuanced, it depends, it takes time. Like with ADHD, to kind of, I guess, go into that first point that I have about psychological discourse of ADHD, blah blah blah, and personality disorders, or neurodevelopmental disorders. We went from, and I think it says it in that Reddit thread or something else, like we went from like, I don't know, somewhere, but like, we went from like, and I said this in the last one, but we went from like, oh, this kid is acting up, I guess in the 20th century, at least here in America, at least that's how I see it, we went from like, okay, all kids act like this, but this knucklehead acts worse, to going, okay, it's a problem in virtue of life goals that we're trying to make very coherent. Like if you want to have a career or a job or whatever, like this seems to be in conflict with that. So like, we're going to describe this as ADHD, or have a typological distinction, ADD and ADHD, to the point where we have gradations and kind of modal characterizations of ADHD, which is fascinating to me. Like, and I think one of the values of that, even if like, I have this buddy I've known for a long time that would talk about like how, neurodivergency is really a function, or discourse around neurodivergency is a function of these kind of capitalistic and neoliberalistic structures that we have in place right now. So like work weeks, the demands of the workplace, the demands of social life, the kind of the values which have estranged neurodivergent behavior. I think the discourse of neurodevelopmental disorders is still vastly important, even if it's still a function of cultural, sociocultural kind of structures that are in place right now. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, much of what I guess originally intended to talk about in this episode was like the barrier of entry and the obstacle for people engaging and existing through the language of neurodevelopmental disorders and psychiatry or psychology is the fact that, first of all, there's an epistemic. I've been calling it epistemic distance whenever I like think about stupidity as a conceptualization. In stupidity and with this, I think there's an epistemic distance between some kind of sophisticated or some kind of language game and an individual. That epistemic distance becomes an obstacle for individuals who can find value in playing within that, I'm saying playing in that loose, in the kind of metaphorical sense that Wittgenstein uses, language game, or game and language game. But, playing within that language game to exist. So like, and that epistemic distance is kind of, is broad, is a function definitely from epistemic mistrust, which I've always said that like, one of the kind of origins of like the widespread kind of mistrust that everyone has of institutional kind of organizations and institutional figures, that lead to kind of phenomena like flat earthers or anti-vaxxers is because of many of the kind of political problems that we've had, and scandals that we've had, where in the case of like science and medicine, really, what was it, the Tuskegee experiments, which I forget the whole story on that, but like those are things that have like prevented marginalized communities or communities that don't normally inherently engage with scientific discourse, or medical discourse in a way that's conducive for solving their own problems, whether it involves psychiatry or any kind of health problems. These scandals, but like much more, like there's a broader web of scandals. We've had Watergate, we've had like assassinations, we've had CIA, the CIA and the FBI, like on record, found out through whether explicitly or through declassified documents, doing very nefarious activities which have like disbanded and like corrupted like truly important movements and individuals in America, and have like eroded away that kind of self-willing activity of democracy. And when scientific and medical research are undergirded and supported by these same individuals who have been doing all these nefarious things, it's not a crazy reason why individuals are going to fall into anti-vaxxers, going to become flat earthers, because like, they just don't trust. It's that epistemic mistrust of the discourse, the literal language, the formalisms, even the speech patterns, it's funny being like, and this is maybe a tangent, but like, I naturally code switch because I'm like speaking I'm using big words, or I'm trying to speak in a way that's coherent to a broader audience, to an audience of individuals who are intellectual or intelligent, but also regular individuals. I'm kind of speaking in a flat way, and that's kind of a historical thing because I've been around a lot of white people who have the same kind of speech patterns. I've been around a lot of, institutional environments and academic environments where that speaking in this kind of these tones and these paces and with these words, this speech pattern, the way I talk, especially right here or in certain environments, it's kind of a function of that. But I was raised around niggas like my whole life. I came from various environments, like whether in Miami with Haitians, in fucking New York and Brooklyn, around Fort Hamilton area, black churches across the nation. I've grown up I definitely have times where I feel comfortable and I can speak in those ways. It's funny. It's always funny because I've been around a lot of people who are not black, who've also been in those environments, but I don't know. It's a funny thing, but I guess the point, I don't know. The point is, or at least I guess let me finish that thought. I think I was talking about this with someone about kind of cultural traits, and it's when you're ADHD, and I think this is definitely on brand with the ADHD thing. When you're I've always felt like code switching wasn't an insincere thing. It's much more I like different ways of speaking, and I'll play around. I use bruv a lot because I love that term. I use it. I'll put that in. And of course, that's a very small kind of form of what I'm talking about. I think neurodivergent people don't see that boundary between speaking in certain ways and even melting it together. And I realized this about my writing. I think my writing a lot of times has this very, and I think this is funny because it's a very Gen Z thing of tattooing. Gen Z kids a lot more have patchwork. Patchwork is definitely a huge thing. And I remember I was looking back at, I think that the letter. One of my last things I published on Medium, which the title is a play on Camus. I think it's Letters to a German Friend. I was making a play. I always love making plays on, or making kind of historical or literary allusions to older things, because I think I was watching a documentary of Camus, and that just kind of gave me an impetus to write that. But yeah, I think I was going through that writing, and it's very kind of patchworky. I have a poem in there. I have I have narrative forms in there. I have essentially a normal essay, or I don't know. I think it's definitely a function of the fact that I've pursued and trying to learn all forms of writing. First with poetry, storytelling. From individuals just literary fiction style, narrative storytelling. Also just essays. Your Joan Didion's, philosophically sober kind of let's incisively get in unpack statements and dig into concepts. But overall, just having fun with language, to do the point of letting, it's kind of a Heideggerian point, but letting the being of beings be within this writing, which can take the form of letting the being of whatever is the problem unfold in its weird ways, which it shouldn't be just constricted to just one kind of literary form. But I think that's just the ADHD talking. But bouncing between different linguistic styles, different linguistic patterns. I don't know. It's funny. when you read, I think one of the problems, and this may be related to the first point I had about this type of discourses. There's so many conflicting kind of aspects of neurodivergency or personality disorders, or like people get lost if they try to research this stuff themselves, and it's kind of hard to kind of track. I know there's kind of a crisis where people are like picking up and diagnosing themselves with different things. Like 1 week someone's autistic, 1 week someone's BPD, 1 week something else. But the weird thing is, and the interesting and really fascinating thing is, I gotta find this guy's videos, because he's had the most nuanced and brilliant kind of take on these things. Which one of his theses was like, much of these problems, of course, arise from like, there's genetic and neurodeterminants or neurofacts that like determine these disorders, but like they come in kind of constellations, and much of them come from like abuse and like some kind of trauma and environmental aspects, which are like can definitely help. But the fact that like many environments, let's say workplaces, academic workplaces, they just do a shit show job of like really handling that, because the agents within those environments are still triggering those kind of traumatic responses, or those kind of neurodevelopmental responses to the environment in the ways that they've been ingrained. But yeah, it's that's one of the problems of these types of medical discourses, is it's very kind of counterintuitive, or it's very confusing, because it's just mazes, and that's part of like the mistrust. Is like, we used to have a very, very binary way of talking about things. It's like either you're normal or you're crazy. You're normal or you're insane. Like, even though like I need to dig back into this book. Where is it? It's called Creating Criminals. Yeah. Gotta dive back into this book right here, Creating Criminals, which it's not funny, but like it's there's this part in the beginning where they kind of like give this whole typology of like of like, how do they describe it, like idiocy, okay, hold on, let me see if I can find a part. Like, it's just kind of crazy, like how the weird kind of antiquated kind of distinctions they had. Wait, hold on. Even just hearing idiots used as a technical term is crazy. Wilbur used his annual reports to educate legislators about idiocy and tactfully promote his venture. His central message was that idiots could be taught. Afflicted with an absence of harmonious development of the mental, active, and moral powers, usually due to some defect or infirmity of nervous organization, idiots are yet human beings. That's crazy, But like, where is it? Like, they used to have like a scale. It's crazy, like the way discourse used to be handled. But I mean, like, it's beautiful looking at the history of these discourses, because it's like, things used to be barbaric. If you were there's always been even the argument that like neurodivergency, like the discourses around them are like some kind of function of a capitalistic framework of things. It's like there's always been a society, so there's always going to be some kind of structures which are inhibiting the kind of volatility that brains have, brains and minds have, that allow for these kind of phenotypal traits, or cognitive traits, which are I guess undesirable or like appear to be crazy or whatever, or idiotic or whatever, like which I mean in this book, when they're talking about idiots, they're definitely like, or at least like, yeah, they had a totem pole of like the distinctions between like idiots, lunatic, or what find it because it's not funny, but it's funny to me. Like just like because the hierarchy or the kind of I guess typology they had for these kind of individuals who weren't neurotypical. I guess it's funny when thinking about or looking at the history of science and finding our medicine and finding like these kind of antiquated kind of distinctions which get overturned by a new paradigm and a new paradigm of science goes okay, which Thomas Kuhn describes in the structure of scientific revolutions, which I need to go back and read too. I love that book, even though people kind of dog on it sometimes. But it's funny to see what was salient as a way of describing things. What is what was salient, which is not salient anymore, or what was popular or meaningful or sensible, or coherent at one time is not Aristotelian science and Ptolemaic science at one time had all these crazy elaborate kind of arrangements of how they had how outer space was and how how the solar system, which I don't even know if they had that kind of concept of the solar system, but the science and the physics of the time, or at least the cosmology of the time, really had a geocentric model. It used a geocentric model and it had these firmaments and had stars being fixated at certain points and moving around and revolving around, and that was very meaningful. And that's one of the things that is funny for me. Like when I think about stupidity, it's like those were Kuhn says those were incommensurable. In a way, I may be butchering it, but that was an incommensurable kind of standard of science to today's rigor of science, and cosmology. It did its job. It played its role in the way in helping people, do things like agriculture or organize, their calendars and things like that. But it's from our lens, and for a kid growing up right now, they'd be like, that's dumb as hell. Like, why do they think that? But it's that was the best. Aristotelian physics was one of the best methods for whether understanding or doing that kind of primitive or historical form of science. So it's but it is funny when you see an older form, alchemy. Before alchemy essentially blossomed into chemistry, alchemy had, I guess if it's still practiced today, which is, just like astrology, it's alchemy blossomed into chemistry, and astrology essentially blossomed in astronomy, both when the practitioners realized hey, there's a limit to this. This doesn't make any sense beyond what we were doing. There's better ways of doing what is, I guess in both those traditions, the actual science, the scientific practitioners, and I don't think it wasn't science, but the natural philosophers who were part of those camps went off and started doing their essentially rudimentary forms of science. And it's funny, and the aspects of that former field or whatever, that former practice, are essentially more philosophical, and I don't like to use philosophical in that kind of way, or much more a folk metaphysical, that's what you call it, a kind of folk metaphysical practice, and cultural practice, essentially, as opposed to kind of natural philosophical and the scientific practices that kind of blossomed out of it. But it's interesting to go back and look at it. It's this is cool, and it's but not in a way that's I'm, because of my place in history, I'm much more smarter than them or whatever. But and I think there's there's a way to relate this to, unfortunately, individuals who possess this kind of epistemic mistrust of institutionally backed forms of science and knowledge. Instead of being so skeptical and pessimistic, you should just be, just pessimistic and mistrusting. I think the best epistemological practice towards knowledge of any kind is to go like, okay, that's a cool story, or that's a cool way of describing things. I'm going to suspend belief completely, but in a pragmatic fashion, if like the benefits of it help me do something in life or pursue things in a more coherent, sophisticated, or make me fast track things that like, individuals couldn't do before, like, it's kind of funny to me sometimes when I think like, medicine has achieved a lot. Like, there's a book, The Cosmopolitanism by the philosopher Kwame Appiah, where he talks about like, the individuals from certain kind of certain cultures, let's say like Africa, I won't put a name on it because that'll sound like putting someone on blast, but like certain kind of cultural practices. Also, I'll put Haitian because like there's certain still kind of to a degree antiquated and primitive or like weird metaphysical beliefs like Jesus Christ, like which sometimes I have to like suspend my skepticism or criticism of these views because like I'm not God or whatever. But like Kwame Appiah says like you can have a culture that believes in ghosts and spirits and that's how they affect like sickness, or you can buy into the salience of like germ theory, and use certain medicines that are built off the framework of germ theory to go and use that medicine to kind of go through life. Like, isn't it better to kind of epistemically buy into that? But I mean, you can be pluralistic and go like, yeah, I'm going to use this, I'm going to use that medicine and believe and buy into germ theory, but also like, of course, buy into this, buy into my cultural practice where, ghosts and spirits are doing these things. I guess Zizek has like Slavoj Zizek has a point about that where like he makes a joke about like having a magnet on around his front door to like ward off spirits, and he's like, if it works, whatever, I don't care, even if it sounds dumb as hell. I don't know, but I get it. I get epistemic mistrust. I get or mistrust or distrust or whatever in forms of language which are foreign to one's own cultural practices and one's own language games for doing certain things and pursuing certain things or understanding certain phenomena. Like, yeah. Oh man, it's almost 7:30. I am hungry. Your boy is hungry. I want to pop a dip in, but I can't do it on YouTube. So, this was great. I was gonna. I created a Patreon, which I want to link up because one of the goals of this channel also is not just to yap, even though I do love my yapping, not just to yap about ADHD or neurodivergency, but or make be really dumb and butcher arguments and butcher understandings of certain things, but also to get paid. Well, to not really. Oh well, yeah, but to have a way of like focusing on things that I want to create. Like, I remember when I first started like really thinking about ADHD a lot, I was like, I want to put out a book, which I started writing, but of course stopped and got distracted. But distracted as in like, should I be putting more effort in this instead of this other book idea? But I've had a concept for a book that I've wanted to do that's regarding ADHD, kind of giving more of a narrative kind of story, and then kind of going into, or just like having a narration of like all the hijinks from childhood that is very ADHD, which is essentially why like the last video was just like about like, I think I yapped a bit too long on military, but like I was much more displaying kind of like part of the case study of being an ADHD individual. Like this is one of the stories before kind of getting into like the more theoretical or philosophical kind of thinking over the whole subject. But yeah, so I want there's many things that I want to create, and I want to kind of build something around this. I've been playing around with, despite the fact that artificial or AI and all these AI products or assets or tools are very controversial because of what's been going on in certain industries where dumbass like CEOs have been laying off their employees. That's not funny, but like them being dumbasses is very funny because they've overestimated the kind of efficiency or like value or the kind of the powers of their AI assets without humans still there. I know that makes it controversial on top of like the more sociological and kind of the aspect of resources being used, which I'd love to learn more about that because it's still kind of murky. But there's a couple different projects that I've started on. I think like even last year. I think I was working on like an app. I was using Lovable.dev and/or a different product, AI dev tool, to work on a product that helps with neurodivergency. And I've been like every once in a while doodle and conceptually think out what are the ways to kind of help keep people focused and to pursue certain things that they'd like to do using the same kind of resources that replicate, like let's say social media, that provide kind of dopaminergic kind of methods for keeping someone on track or keeping them excited about something they want to do or a new environment or world that they want to become a part of or they want to exist in and dwell, for neurodivergent individuals, where like maybe some of your behaviors are very counteractive or counterproductive to doing those things. If you're a person who kind of like shuts yourself out of communities and worlds because that's just kind of how you handle existence and existing, or if you are very prone to doom scrolling, or I don't know. There's things that I would love to create, and unfortunately I'm not privy or not a part of certain organizations. I don't have access to capital to do those things. I don't have those inherent skills sets that were demanded of someone who would be trying to produce these type of products forever ago. But now with like these very, very powerful full stack development tools, it's the horizon's not so far away. And same thing with books, but not in the same kind of way. But like there's books that I want to work on. And there's more philosophical, kind of more very rigorous things. Like for the longest time, I've wanted to not only just write as in like narrative literary fiction and poetry, but like write serious philosophical things outside of academia. I mean, originally I wanted to do it through academia, but after a while being outside of academia and not having the GI Bill anymore and everything, I was for a while entranced by the idea of pretty much being a blue collar philosopher or whatever. But it's very hard when you're. It's very difficult to try to keep the same, to keep the same kind of mental state needed to do thorough thinking within concepts and research and everything when your life is not structured in that kind of way at all. That demands like, but I mean, so yeah, my hat's off to those individuals who are in PhD programs. But I mean, at least you're in that environment. Like, you know, a PhD. Like, I'm not to take light of a world in a way of life that I have not been a part of. But one thing about being in academia, even while you're working, at least you're around those resources, whether they're cultural or like, you know, it's cultural or epistemological. It's very difficult when you get used to not being a part of those environments and worlds, and then you even lose the kind of lose sight of like that true passion, because it's like, why does it matter? Like, let me just go back to my bartending job. All right, it's time to go eat. Thank you guys. It was fun. Yeah, it was fun. Y'all have a good one.